Across thousands of years and thousands of miles apart, civilizations told a strangely similar story. A final war. A battle so devastating it would end an entire age of the world. The Norse called it Ragnarok. In ancient India, it appears in the prophecy of Kalki. In the Bible, it is known as Armageddon. And among the Hopi people, there are stories of a coming transition into a new world. But here is the mystery. These cultures had no contact with one another, no shared language, no shared geography. Yet they all described something eerily similar, a final conflict followed by the rebirth of the world. So the question is, why? Human civilizations have always tried to understand time. Some believed history moved forward like a straight line, a beginning, a middle, and an eventual end. But many ancient cultures believed something very different. They believed time moved in cycles: creation, growth, decline, collapse, and renewal. In this worldview, civilizations rise, flourish, and eventually fall. But the end of one age is never the true end. Instead, it becomes the beginning of another. And according to many myths, the turning point between these ages is marked by a great conflict, a war unlike anything before it. But what exactly did these ancient traditions say? And why do their stories sound so eerily similar? That is what we are going to investigate. Frozen landscapes of the ancient Norse world. Their mythology describes the end of time in a terrifying event called Ragnarok, a word that roughly translates to the fate of the gods. It begins with chaos spreading across the world, natural disasters, the collapse of social order, brother fighting brother, civilization unraveling from the inside out. Then the sky darkens, the sun disappears, and the gods themselves march to war. Odin, Thor, Loki, giants, serpents, monsters, a battle so violent it destroys nearly everything. But here is where the story takes an unexpected turn, because Ragnarok does not end the world permanently. After the destruction, the earth rises again from the sea, green, renewed, alive, and a new generation of gods inherits the world. So Ragnarok is not simply an apocalypse, it is a reset, the death of one world and the birth of another. But this idea was not unique to the Vikings, not even close. Thousands of miles away, in ancient India, Hindu cosmology describes time through massive repeating cycles called Yugas. There are 4 of them. Each Yuga represents a stage in the moral and spiritual condition of humanity. At the beginning of the cycle, in the Satya Yuga, humanity lives in harmony and balance. Truth is the foundation of society. But over time, things deteriorate. Truth fades. Greed grows. Violence spreads. Eventually, society reaches its lowest point, the Kali Yuga, an age marked by corruption, chaos, and moral confusion. According to the ancient texts, the end of this dark era is marked by the arrival of Kalki, the final avatar of Vishnu. Kalki is said to appear riding a white horse, carrying a blazing sword. But his purpose is not simply destruction, it is restoration. The collapse of the corrupted world order, and the beginning of a new golden age. Once again, a final conflict followed by renewal. The parallels with Ragnarok are striking. But perhaps the most famous version of this idea appears in the final book of the Bible. In the book of Revelation, the end of the age is described through powerful symbolic imagery, cosmic disturbances, falling stars, riders of the apocalypse, and eventually, a final confrontation known as Armageddon. The word itself comes from Har Megiddo, a real place in ancient Israel, a hill where many historical battles were fought. In the text, Armageddon represents the ultimate battle between the forces of good and evil, But just like the other traditions, the story does not end in permanent destruction. Instead, the old world gives way to a transformed one, a new heaven and a new earth. And this is where things become truly fascinating, because the pattern keeps repeating. Different cultures, different languages, different religions. Yet the structure of the story remains remarkably consistent. A period of decline, a great conflict, and the birth of a new age. 3 civilizations, 3 continents, 3 versions of the same story. But the pattern does not stop there. Among the Hopi people of the American Southwest, oral traditions describe humanity passing through multiple worlds. Each world ends when human beings lose their spiritual balance through greed, violence, or forgetting their relationship with nature. According to some interpretations of Hopi teachings, signs in the sky signal the transition between worlds. These transitions are not merely destruction, they are transformations. The old world fades, a new one emerges, and once again, we see the same pattern: collapse, conflict, renewal. 4 traditions, 4 corners of the earth, and the same story told again and again. Across history, entire civilizations have vanished, not slowly, but suddenly. So suddenly that for the people living through it, it must have felt like the end of the world. Around 1200 BCE, the great powers of the Bronze Age collapsed almost simultaneously. Kingdoms that had stood for centuries, gone within a generation. Cities burned, trade networks vanished, entire empires disappeared from the map. Centuries later, the Roman Empire would fall as well, sending Europe into an age of instability and upheaval. To those living through these moments, the world they knew was ending. Order turned into chaos, governments collapsed, civilizations fractured. And when societies endure events that catastrophic, they try to explain them. Stories emerge. Stories about the end of an age, about destruction, followed by renewal. But some scholars believe these stories may reflect something even deeper. The psychologist Carl Jung argued that certain patterns appear again and again across human cultures, not because civilizations shared ideas, but because they share something far more fundamental: the structure of the human mind. Jung called these patterns archetypes, and one of the most powerful archetypes of all is the cycle of death and rebirth. Because humans instinctively see the world in cycles. We see it in the seasons, in the rhythm of day and night, in the life cycle of every living thing: birth, growth, decay, renewal. So perhaps these ancient prophecies were not simply predictions. Perhaps they were observations, a recognition that civilizations, like everything else in nature, may follow cycles of their own. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries of ancient history and forgotten civilizations, subscribe to Unworldly, because some of the most fascinating stories about our world are the ones history still cannot fully explain.